What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Today I'm pretty excited, which I'm actually excited every day, but today I'm even more excited because I'm going to do some work on the 5th gen. As you can see, I got it backed up into my garage of awesomeness. Today I'm going to be taking the factory exhaust from the DPF back off, and I'm going to be throwing on a Magnaflow 5-inch Cerakoted black kit, mostly because I don't really like the way the factory exhaust looks, and I think once I get this thing sitting a little bit higher with a few more painted to match parts on, I think the exhaust will kind of just fit in and just look that much nicer. So it's a pretty straightforward setup, to be honest with you. You got a couple hangers that you have to take the factory exhaust off of and obviously reuse with the Magnaflow kit. Tools wise, pretty easy stuff here, not gonna lie. I've got a 15 mil socket and a little bit larger than life flathead screwdriver that I'll be using to help kind of pry the factory hangers off of the little like kind of rubber hangers, and then obviously reinstalling them with the Magnaflow kit. One thing that I have learned in doing, exhaust kits for quite some time is I'm going to spray a little bit of WD-40 on the hangers, and I'm going to let it sit for a little bit because that will make it a bit easier to get the factory ones off, and then obviously get the Magnaflow ones tossed on there. So let me show you what I'm starting off with kit wise. I'm pretty excited because it's black and it's going to match the entire theme of the truck, which honestly, I don't want there to be anything but white or black on above truck wise. Down below, I'm gonna throw a little bit of color in there, but that's for another video because right now it's all stock. Well, it's pretty much stock. So, but it has the look that I'm going for, and I don't really want to mess with it. Honestly, it's a daily driver, so I don't plan on doing polished wheels or any kind of chrome or polish on it, just because it's just more for me to freak out about and clean up. So here's what I've got right here is the 5-inch kit. Now obviously this is from DPF over the axle, and then I've got the section that comes off the back side of that and exits out the back of the truck. Now the cool thing with Magnaflow is they send you 2 little pieces of pipe. Obviously you've got a smaller one, which I'll be using on my crew cab short bed, and they send you a longer piece for long beds and or mega cabs. So I'll be basically tossing the longer one because I'm not going to use it. And starting off with this. Now, not a huge fan of it. I mean, obviously it does its job and most folks could probably really care less, but I want the truck to look a certain way. And that is going to help me get that look with this truck. So first things first, I'm going to drop the spare tire underneath the truck, and there's a heat shield that sits in between the spare tire and the exhaust. I'll be taking that off as well, just so it makes it a little bit easier for me to kind of finagle that kit up in there, because it is built specifically for 2500s with the rear coils. So I want there to be as much space in there as possible, and then I'll just reinstall that stuff after I get the kit on itself. So first things first, I'm going to drop the spare. I'm going to take the heat shield off, which I believe is a 10 millimeter, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty easy to do there. I believe there's like 6 bolts that hold it on. So I'll get those off. After I get the spare down, probably run it to the car wash, spray everything down with some of that mean green or maybe some degreaser if I have any left, which actually I do, which I'm pretty excited to not have to go to the store and get. Wash everything off, and then I'll take the factory exhaust off and throw this one on. So I'll walk you through. It's a pretty easy setup. The one thing that I like about this kit, this isn't the first time that I've ran this kit, is it literally just kind of slides together. It got shipped in great shape. If anything, I'll probably end up scratching it a couple times just throwing it in there. So that's okay. Because for the most part, you're just going to basically see the section that kind of comes out back in the back corner of the bed. So as long as I don't scratch that up, I'll be okay. So I'm going to get started taking this stuff apart, getting the spare off, getting the heat shield off of there, and then I'll work on getting everything sprayed off hanger-wise and getting some WD-40 in there. I'll get the factory exhaust off. I'll show you guys what you need to take those off as far as the tools. Pretty easy to do. And then I will get to work on basically piecing this thing together on underneath the truck. I'll probably piece it together out here in my garage first, just to make sure that fitment is there. So that way when I get under the truck, I'm not battling, the sections of exhaust going together. So let's get started. All right, guys, so here we are underneath the truck. I got the spare tire off, and I got the cable that kind of holds it up in there, kind of tucked out of the way for now. And it looks like the bolts you got to take out from underneath here. I don't know if you guys can see them. You've got a few over in here if you want to take them off. You got 3 here, you got another one here, and then you have 2 up in here. They are a 10 millimeter. So like I'd mentioned before, I'm going to be taking off the heat shield. Again, make it a little bit easier to get the old exhaust off, get the new one on. So just kind of wanted to update you on that. So it is a 10 mil, and I think there's like 7 of them that have to come out. So I'll be taking that off, and then I'll show you guys what I'm starting off with after I go kind of get everything blasted off and cleaned up. And then once I get it back, I'll get the WD-40 on the hangers and get to work on taking the factory exhaust off and then fitting this bad boy up and then getting it on the truck. So back to it. All right, ladies and gents, so here is the Magnaflow kit. I've already test fit it, as you can see by the scratches I put on the over the axle pipe, and then test fit the piece that goes onto the DPF into the over the axle pipe, and it fits nice. One of the cool things with this kit too is the shorter section, because it's a crew cab short bed, does have a little opening in here. There is a spot on the factory DPF that this actually slides around to help line it up really nice. Make sure that you get it snug down. I've got all the clamps ready to go with the new hangers. I've got the hangers on the truck itself already all kind of gooped up with WD-40. And to take the factory kit off, obviously this from the DPF back, there are 2 15 millimeter bolts that hold 2 factory clamps on. So I did end up using a deeper 15 mil just to make sure, because the bolts did have a bit on them. So I've got all that done. I've got underneath the truck all washed and degreased. Spent a couple bucks at the car wash, used about half a bottle of degreaser. So it's all nice and clean. So it's time to get this off and get that on. So I'm gonna get back to it. All right, guys and gals, I'm done. Got the new exhaust kit put on, got the factory exhaust off, got everything lined up, tightened down, wiped up, looks really good, and I couldn't be happier. Honestly, install-wise, it's a breeze, right? Taking off the factory exhaust took me twice as long as putting on the MBRP kit, and I gotta tell you, the only reason it took me that long to put the new kit on is because, well, I got a little bit of a OCD problem, and I wanted to make sure that the exhaust lined up the way that I wanted it to, and I wasn't gonna settle for less. So, little recap, took the factory exhaust setup off. There are 2 clamps that you gotta loosen up. They have 15 mil bolts on them. In my truck's case, it took a little bit of persuasion to kind of get those loose. Once I got them loose, not a big deal. And then I just kind of pried the factory clamps apart to help make sure that there was nothing that was gonna impede on me getting the exhaust off. Got the hangers off of the frame, put some WD-40 in those, huge help by the way, and got the old exhaust off. Put the new one on, basically started from the DPF, worked my way back. The one thing that I did a little differently that maybe some will do or not do is there is a dual prong hanger that goes on the section of exhaust that goes up over the axle. Now, originally I put that on as I was piecing it together from the DPF back, and it kind of impeded me lining up the exhaust the way that I wanted to once I had the rear section on there with the rear hanger. So I ended up taking it off and just relying on this rear hanger and getting everything lined up the way that I wanted it to, making sure there was proper spacing between the section pipe that goes over the axle and the frame and the coil, which I did, turned out perfect. And then at the very end, I put that dual prong hanger back on, and then went through and just kind of snugged everything up, probably about as tight as it's gonna get, so I don't have to worry about this kit moving at all. So without further ado, let's take a look at the kit. Let me know what you guys and gals think. Start to finish, after I'd lined up the MBRP kit here in my garage, 30 minutes, right? 35 minutes. So it doesn't really take that long. So let's take a look at it. Tell me what you guys think. All right, ladies and gents, here it is. The exhaust installed. Now, this is the 2-prong hanger that I was telling you guys and gals about that I installed last. This is the small section of pipe, obviously for a crew cab short bed, bolts onto the factory DPF. And then as you can tell, just kind of travels back up over the axle. Now, there is where she all comes out. And I gotta tell you, this thing turned out better than I expected, and it looks phenomenal. It's the look that I'm going for. It's got a slight little pitch to it, exhaust-wise, where it kind of comes down at an angle. Wasn't really trying to get this thing parallel. And there she is, all done. Now, the one thing I wish I'd have done differently was obviously painted the clamps and the hangers in black. That may be something I do down the road, but for now, I'm gonna leave it. I love it. I think it looks great, and it did exactly what I wanted to do, which was get rid of the factory exhaust in favor of something that looks a bit cleaner and matches the theme of the truck. So there you have it. It's all done, installed, and looking fine. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And as always, I appreciate you guys and gals watching. And stay tuned. I definitely have some more goodies coming for this thing in the near future.